Welcome to the Blanco Wellness Podcast. Thank you for being here. Take a breath. And if this episode found you at a tender moment, know that you are in the right place. There are few experiences that reach quite as deep as this one. You opened yourself to someone, genuinely, without the usual protections in place. And you imagined a future, invested your time and attention and care, and allowed yourself to believe that this was going somewhere real. And then, in whatever way it happened, directly or gradually, with explanation or without, they made a choice, and the choice was not you. Perhaps they left. Perhaps they chose someone else. Perhaps they said they were not ready, or not in the right place, or offered some version of the explanation that explains nothing and leaves everything feeling unresolved. However it arrived, the feeling underneath it tends to be the same. A particular kind of pain that moves through you differently from most, that reaches places other disappointments do not. Many people assume the pain comes primarily from losing the person. Sometimes that is true, but there is almost always another layer underneath it, one that is worth understanding, because understanding it is actually the beginning of moving through it honestly. When someone does not choose us, we rarely lose only a relationship. We lose a story, the future that was being quietly constructed in the imagination, the mornings, the ordinary moments, the version of things that was going to unfold from here. We lose the version of ourselves that existed inside that imagined future, the person we were in the context of that particular possibility. The grief, when it arrives, is not only for a person, it is for a whole world that existed in the mind, and now does not. This is why the pain can feel so disproportionate, why it can persist long after the rational part of the mind has listed all the reasons the relationship probably would not have worked anyway. Grief does not consult the rational mind before deciding how long to stay. It moves at its own pace, and part of what it is mourning is not even fully visible. All the unlived mornings, the conversations that will not happen, the particular version of the future that quietly dissolved the moment the other person made their choice. The Buddhist teaching on this uses a framework that is genuinely useful in the specific way that practical tools are useful. It describes the first arrow and the second. The first arrow is the event itself, the rejection, the loss, the genuine pain of caring about something that did not become what you hoped. This arrow strikes, and it hurts, and there is nothing to be done about it having landed except to feel the wound honestly. The second arrow is the one we fire at ourselves in the aftermath, the story the mind builds around the event. If I had been more attractive, more interesting, more confident, more worthy of being chosen, then they would have chosen me. The rejection becomes a verdict. Not this relationship ended, but I was not enough. These are entirely different conclusions, and only one of them is actually supported by the evidence. Another person's choice carries a great deal of information about that person, about their timing, their fears, their capacity at this particular point in their life, what they are moving toward or away from. It carries very little reliable information about your worth. People fail to choose each other for reasons that have almost nothing to do with the quality of the person being passed over. Incompatibility that has no villain, timing that belongs to the particular seasons each person is in, old wounds that prevent someone from being available for what is in front of them, directions in life that simply do not align. The mind, in its distress, tends to collapse all of this complexity into a single conclusion about adequacy. That collapse is the second arrow, and it tends to cause more lasting damage than the rejection itself. A young student once came to his teacher in considerable pain over someone who had not returned his feelings, and told him he could not stop thinking about this person, could not stop the longing. The teacher listened, and then asked, Do you genuinely care about their well-being? The student said yes, of course. The teacher asked a second question. Do you want them to be happy? The student said yes again, without hesitation, and then the teacher asked the question that required real sitting with. Do you want them to be happy, even if their happiness does not include you? The student went quiet for a long time, because that question asks something genuinely hard, whether what we are feeling is love, which wishes the other person well, regardless of the outcome, or attachment, which needs a specific outcome in order to feel resolved. The Taoists understood this through the image of water held in cupped hands. Held gently, openly, the water remains. It has room to be what it is, to settle, to stay. Gripped tightly, it escapes between the fingers regardless of the force applied. The tighter the grip, the faster the loss. This is not a lesson about passivity or about not caring deeply. It is a lesson about the quality of holding, about the difference between love that allows and attachment that demands, between caring about someone and requiring them to behave in a specific way in order for you to be okay. The requiring tends to be the source of suffering, not the caring. None of this makes the experience easy, and it would be dishonest to suggest otherwise. The pain is real. The grief deserves time and genuine respect. What changes when you can hold it this way is the relationship between the pain and your sense of yourself, the degree to which the rejection gets to define you, rather than simply being something that happened to you. You are not less because someone could not meet what you were offering. You are simply someone whose path moved in a direction that did not include that particular person, and the path continues, regardless of how much it hurts right now that it does. Some of the most important chapters of a life begin in the space that a loss like this creates. Not because the pain was necessary, not because suffering is somehow useful as a general principle, but because the ending genuinely cleared ground that would otherwise have remained occupied. This does not require you to be grateful for the heartbreak before you are ready. It only requires you to hold somewhere underneath the grief, the knowledge that the story is not finished. The chapter ended. The book did not. As we close today, carry one thought gently with you. Someone not choosing you is not a verdict on your worth. It never was. It is one person's choice, made from inside their own particular life and limitations and direction. And it says far more about their path than about your value. The most important choosing, the one that determines far more about your life than any other person's decision ever could, is the one you do for yourself, again and again, through the difficult seasons and the tender ones, returning to the recognition that you were enough before they arrived, and you remain enough now that they have gone. Thank you for being here with me today. Until next time, be well.